What else are they hiding? Thomas Edward had always been drawn to secrets. Not just the small ones that people whisper about in the dark, but the grand, world-shattering ones buried deep beneath layers of lies, dust, and time. He was the type of person who couldn't walk away when someone said, "It's better if you don't know." That phrase was like a magnet, pulling him deeper into the unknown. It started with a whisper in a crowded room, the kind that barely reaches your ears but sticks with you for days. They found something in the pyramid, the voice had said. Something they're not telling anyone about. Most people would shrug it off as a wild rumor, but not Thomas. He couldn't just let it go. What could be so important, so terrifying, that it had to be hidden away from the world? He had spent years studying ancient civilizations, delving into the mysteries of Egypt, where the pyramids stood as monuments to both human achievement and the enigma of our past. Yet, for all his research, there was always something that didn't quite add up. Stories of hidden chambers, lost artifacts, and unexplained phenomena surrounded these ancient structures. But when Thomas started digging deeper, asking the hard questions, he was met with resistance. Scholars and officials alike seemed to dodge his inquiries, dismissing them with half-hearted reassurances or, worse, silence. But Thomas was relentless. He traveled to Egypt, determined to uncover the truth. The closer he got to the pyramids, the more he felt like something was off. The tours, the official narratives, they all seemed too polished, too curated. The deeper he went, the more he began to realize how much was being kept from the public. He spoke with locals, people who lived in the shadow of the pyramids, whose families had passed down stories for generations. They spoke of tunnels that led to nowhere, chambers that were sealed off without explanation, and strange occurrences that were never mentioned in any guidebook. One night, after weeks of fruitless searching, Thomas was approached by an elderly man who had been watching him from afar. The man handed him a worn piece of parchment, his hands trembling slightly as he did. "They won't tell you," the old man whispered, "but the truth is in here." Thomas unfolded the parchment and found a rough map, hand-drawn and ancient. It showed the pyramids, but it also showed something else, a network of tunnels and chambers hidden beneath the sands, far more extensive than anything he had seen before. At the center of it all was a mark, an X that indicated a place deep within the largest pyramid. The next day, under the cover of darkness, Thomas made his way to the pyramid. He followed the map's instructions, slipping past the guards and into a little-known entrance. As he descended into the depths, he could feel the weight of the earth pressing down on him, the silence so thick it was almost suffocating. After what felt like hours, he reached the chamber marked on the map. It was sealed, just as the stories had said, but Thomas had come prepared. With tools he had brought, he carefully removed the ancient stone, revealing a passageway that had been untouched for millennia. Inside, the air was cold and dry. The walls were lined with hieroglyphs that seemed to pulse with an energy of their own. At the far end of the chamber, he saw something that took his breath away. A sarcophagus unlike any he had ever seen, covered in symbols that didn't match any known language. But it wasn't the sarcophagus itself that shocked him. It was what lay beside it. There, in the shadows, was a collection of artifacts. Things that had no place in an ancient Egyptian tomb. Objects that were out of time, out of place. A device that looked eerily modern. A map of the stars far more advanced than any ancient civilization could have known. And texts that spoke of things Thomas couldn't begin to understand. It was clear to him now. This was what they had been hiding. This was why his questions had been met with silence and deflection. The implications of what he had found were staggering. If the world knew, it could change everything we thought we knew about history, about our place in the universe. But before Thomas could process it all, he heard footsteps echoing down the passageway. They had found him. He quickly took photographs of everything, his hands shaking, knowing that once he was caught, he might never see the light of day again. As the guards approached, he hid the camera in his clothing and prepared himself for the consequences. He was escorted out, and as he expected, the authorities tried to silence him. They confiscated his notes, his equipment, everything, but they didn't find the camera. Thomas left Egypt, but he knew he couldn't stay silent. The world had to know. When he finally returned home, he released the photographs anonymously. The images spread like wildfire, causing a global sensation. Governments and historians scrambled to explain. to discredit, to cover up. But the truth was out there now, and no one could put it back. As for Thomas, he knew they were watching him, waiting for him to slip up, but he didn't care. He had done what he set out to do. The world was finally asking the right question. What else are they hiding? The end. I love you, but I don't like some of you. God bless. God be with you. Thomas Edward. Thank you.